Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. And hello, Matt. Matt's joining us again. How are you?
Hello, Matt.
Hey, David. Hey, Rhonda. Great to be back.
Yes, and welcome to all of our listeners to episode 258.
Now, haven't we forgotten to say hello to somebody?
To Dr. Rutherford?
Yes, yes. We haven't gotten much feedback on him, but I got one bad feedback today. But
You got one bad feedback?
Yeah, kind of tongue-in-cheek. But I told this fellow, if you want, we'll dispense with him. But he, I don't know, he said he might join us and make a few deep comments.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, let's start with a general endorsement that someone sent you, Jessica, and she wrote
and
you.
If could you hold the mic in front of your mouth when you read up there? Thank you.
Okay. She wrote, "Dear Dr. Burns, I wanted to write you to tell you how indebted I feel to the generosity you've shown by making your therapeutic approach, strategies, and personal experiences accessible to all. I have built up a new private practice using the things I've learned and continue to learn about team therapy. It has transformed the way that I work. The positive reframing during agenda setting is particularly life-changing for myself and my patients. While I have so much more to learn, for instance, I find myself having to go back to the 5 secrets constantly. I'm so excited about work, and I have a real purpose, a sense of purpose and focus in my sessions. I also want to extend a thank you to Rhonda and her predecessor, Fabrice. I've learned so much from them too. The podcasts are a real gift, and I really love the live sessions. Rhonda especially has shown so much courage in being willing to do her own personal work on air. Thank you so much. Wishing you, your family, and your kiddies well, Jessica."
Well, thank you for that, Jessica. We love the kind tone and positive tone of your note, but also the fact that people can learn these new approaches, and it can improve your clinical work just tremendously. And if you're a general citizen, we also get a lot of emails from people who've been helped personally by the podcast, and so that's just great. And it's especially fun to be working with you again today, Matt. And maybe we'll do some more personal work too one of these days, because we haven't done that for a while. We've got a lot of live work podcasts coming up, tremendous ones as a matter of fact. And I think they're our best, our best thing of all. So tell us what we're going to be doing here today, Rhonda.
Well, many of our Ask David questions are about the 5 secrets, and we have another one today from Anna. And she is somebody who leads a 5 secrets practice group, and we've posted about her before. And she wrote asking for some advice. "Hi, David. I got stuck with the Disarming Technique. Last week in the 5 secrets practice group, something came up and I didn't know how to answer. How do we disarm someone who blames us for a very specific behavior that is not true? For example, why did you steal money from my drawer? I thought we could try to find some truth in the attack, noticing some reasons why the person could be mad at us or doesn't trust us. Or maybe we could ask if we did something to offend or upset her. But at some point, we'd have to say that we didn't steal the money, right? And we will be defending ourselves. Can you help with this? Thank you. I appreciate it. Anna."
Well, that's a great question. It reminds me of the days, Matt, when we were working on how to respond to criticisms from patients who said that we were sexually attracted to them. Do you remember? Or they're
Oh yeah, those are yeah.
Yeah, and those are also require quite an art form. But this is a great question, and we did a podcast on this very topic once called, I don't know if this was the name of it. I think you were involved in this one, I believe, Rhonda.
Oh, yes, I was. That was.
Yeah, listening to the music, but behind the words. And you find what the person is telling you that is true, even though they're expressing it in a concrete way, that you still have to hear, well, what are they telling you about how you've been relating to them? And then acknowledge the truth in that, all the while saying, something like, I have to plead guilty as accused because although I didn't steal money from your drawer and never would, clearly I've been acting in an untrustworthy way and causing you to feel a lot of anxiety and not being confident in me, and then blah blah blah. Go ahead and acknowledge their feelings and share your own and do some stroking and use inquiry. But it's really interesting how easy it is for people to take things concretely, and when we're teaching team CBT to therapists or to the general public or the 5 secrets, we're not trying to teach literal things that are like Lincoln logs that you can put together in some rigid and correct formulaic way. We're trying to get you to see something, to grasp something. And in this case, it's when people are criticizing you, the 3 of us can practice this, they're telling you something that's not only true to them, seems true to them, but is true. On some level, all criticisms are true. And the disarming technique means if you find the truth in a criticism, you'll put the lie to it. In other words, once you agree to someone's unfair, untrue criticism, they'll stop believing it. And that's the paradox. And the other side of the paradox is if you try to defend yourself and insist that they're wrong, they'll conclude that they really are right, and they'll be right too. And that's another paradox. Having said that, we'll bring it to life, and I'll shut up, and Rhonda can take over, and we'll do some role plays and stuff.
I have a follow-up question to her question. So if someone accused me of that, why did you steal the money from my drawer? I would be really angry, and I'm not sure if I could respond by finding the truth, because I would be so upset at being accused of something.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the inner dialogue that interferes with the outer dialogue. Sometimes we give ourselves messages when someone criticizes us. So we get angry, or we get feeling guilty or depressed, or we feel like our territory is being threatened, and we get all upset. And those emotions can and will interfere with our capacity to use the 5 secrets in an elegant way. And in addition, we may not want to. We may just want to tell the other person off and not use the 5 secrets. And I guess that's has to do with the fact that humans have free will. I know you emailed me on that issue a month or 2 ago, Matt. But yeah, we're not here to tell people what to do, and if someone wants to get angry and defend yourself, go for it. But if you'd like to develop a closer and more loving relationship with that person, there's other ways to go. What say you, Matt?
I loved everything you said, David. I thought that was fantastic. When I first read that question, how do you respond? How do you disarm someone who says, why did you steal my money from the drawer? I was stumped. I was unsure exactly how to respond to that. But I loved how you said, I'm afraid I'll have to plead guilty to your concern. Although I didn't and would never steal money from you, I clearly have done a terrible job of winning your trust and providing genuine warmth and support. I would give that an A. I had one I'd like to run past you and see if you could give me a grade on it as a disarm. Is it, I might say something like, boy, that sounds exactly like something I might do. That even though I know that it would be wrong and hurtful and a betrayal to steal from you, sometimes I get tempted into doing things that are wrong. And in this case, I didn't do that. But I'm sure glad that you brought it up to talk about it. I'm upset that your money has gone missing, and would like to help you find it, and to disarm that I do have a side that's immoral or capable of doing wrong things, and to acknowledge that. And I wondered if you have any feedback on that approach.
I think that's awesome. And then also you want to use inquiry and make it other-centered. Tell me more about the things I might have done or said that have made you not trust me or hurt your feelings. And tell me more what this is like for you and how you're feeling. I'm in a lot of pain right now myself, and even though I didn't take the money, I'm still feeling ashamed because I've clearly failed you, and it's especially painful for me because I love you, but clearly on some level I'm screwing up big time, and maybe you could tell me more about that and what that's been like for you, and tell me about the things I've done or said that have turned you off or made you not trust me or made you angry with me. I'm ready to listen.
That sounded fantastic.
Very fantastic. What if you started with your own I feel statement? Can I give it a try too?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
If I didn't start with the disarm, but I started with an I feel like, wow, I'm feeling really, really stunned that you're accusing me of stealing.
I feel really, what did you say?
I feel really stunned.
Oh, yeah. And
kind of hurt and actually really angry that you're accusing me of stealing money from your drawer. And clearly I'm doing something that is leading you to not trust me. And I'd love to hear more about what that is, because I want to be close to you. And this is clearly going to get in the way of our relationship. So can we talk about it? I imagine you're feeling pretty angry as well.
Right. What grade do you give yourself on that?
I would give myself a C on that, because it was more really about me than the other person.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent. I would give it a B, but two things that jumped out at me. I wouldn't say and angry. Stunned and hurt, I thought that's an A right there. Anger, in my opinion, you have to be careful of, and I would bring that in later once you're in a warm, trusting interaction with that person, to say, sometimes I feel angry too, and it's painful for me when we get angry with each other, because I love you, and I like feeling close to you. And the other thing is, I didn't hear the disarming technique.
Right, I didn't. That's because
again, that's a choice.
Didn't put it in. Yeah.
But that's by far your most powerful tool when you're wrongly accused. But as I was saying earlier, this is all about choices that people have, and you may or may not choose to use the disarming technique. But I don't always use it, but I use it, I would say, most of the time, and when I use it, it usually pays off.
Right. Well, it's clearly more powerful response when you use disarming.
Hugely. But as we were saying, I think the last time we worked together, to me, this is the biggest issue confronting the human race, that to want to see something through the eyes of the other person instead of arguing and defending yourself. I think the Buddhists say, and people tell me I don't know shit about Buddhism, and that's absolutely true. But the thing is that the Buddha, who I don't know anything about, said that the idea that we're separate is the cause of all evil, that evil is a real phenomenon, but it's the perception that we're separate from others, separate from the universe. And so when somebody wrongly accuses you, you think it's me versus them, and they have this wrong idea, and we're at a kind of war. And then that perception causes war. And humans are attracted to conflict and war. And so we kind of get sucked in that way. But when you see things through the eyes of the other person, should you wish to do that, and most people do not wish to do that, but should you wish to do that, it puts things in a mind-blowing and radically different perspective. But as you've pointed out, Rhonda, it's difficult, and there's powerful emotional factors that are pushing us in the opposite direction.
We know one of the other things the Buddha said is that the antidote to anger is patience. So I think for me, in a situation where I'm accused of something and I'm feeling anger, I might ask for a little space before I respond to let the anger die down a little. And that way, maybe it would be easier. It would definitely be easier for me to disarm and see the world through the other person's eyes.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to do your own work, write down your own negative thoughts. What are you telling yourself that you're reacting so strongly? Because, again, the other person isn't upsetting you. You're upsetting yourself with your own perceptions, your own interpretation of the other person's criticism. And, boy, I've had so many times when I got kind of ticked off at somebody and kind of blasted them a little bit, and then I later came to see where they were coming from, and I was really feeling kind of embarrassed and ashamed to see how much I had misinterpreted where they were coming from, and that they actually had good intent. But people don't always have good intent. I would say most of the people have malevolent intent, because that's a part of human nature. By the way, practice is so important here. Let's try another round of it. But Ana Silva is this really neat lady. She's from Portugal, and she's as smart as can be, and she's started this free 5 Secrets practice group, and there's only a few people in it because she just started it. But if you're interested in it, we mentioned it in the last show, I'll give you her email again. I'll put it in the show notes, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you'd like to join a 5 Secrets practice group, because that's the only way to learn the 5 Secrets, it's letter A, Teresa, that's Teresa, Teresa Silva 6, Silva 6 @gmail.com. That's Anna Teresa Silva 6, Teresa Silva 6 @gmail.com. And if you join her group, send me an email and let us know how it's working out, and we might read your email on a podcast. Should we do a few more wrong criticisms?
Okay.
Sounds great.
I have one for you guys.
Okay, great.
The email that you sent me, I think it had a flavor of sexual harassment, and I didn't really like it.
Well, how can you say that? All I asked is if you'd be available for sex and making babies.
What grade would you give yourself for that, David?
Forgive my dark humor there. Okay, well, Matt has a perfect answer for this one, and so he will now demonstrate it.
I'll offer. Maybe first I'll offer my imperfect answer. So I'm feeling kind of ashamed and horrified that in my email that I sent to you, there was a flavor of sexual harassment. That's super embarrassing to me, and I would imagine really uncomfortable for you. I'm really glad you're telling me about that. I'd like to know more about it, but I'm mostly just feeling really embarrassed. I'm not even aware of what I said that would have been harassing of you, and I'm just feeling really protective of you right now, and sad that I've caused you to feel uncomfortable, and really proud of you for sticking up for yourself and telling me what I did wrong. How are you feeling right now? Are you angry with me, or scared, or just really disgusted with me?
Okay, great. Now, let's ask Rhonda first. What grade did you give that?
I would give that an A triple plus.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Now, let's say why, because it's probably crystal clear to us and to Matt why that was so strong and so effective. But to our listeners, just probably went in one ear and out the other. Can you explain what it was about that was so beautiful? And we're really modeling a very high form of human relationship here, based on the 5 secrets of effective communication. Tell us why that works so well.
Well, that worked really well because there was absolutely no defensiveness. There was no retaliation. There was no attacking. Matt came at this with a lot of vulnerability and talked about how ashamed and horrified he was. He had, lovely and, just enough thought empathy where he repeated back what I said. And he had a lot of insight into what I was feeling. And it was, sorry. And,
yeah.
I thought when he said he was proud of me for speaking up, that was really great stroking. But mostly it was the vulnerability and the lack of retaliation and defensiveness.
That's great. Tell us your strategies, Matt. Let's also do a technical analysis so we know the precise methods you were using in each sentence. Let's go through the 5 secrets. Were you using the disarming technique, Matt?
I was thinking back on it. I was realizing I don't think I did a very good job of disarming, but maybe it was implied in thoughts like I'm kind of horrified to learn that I said something or did something in that email that was sexual harassment. I didn't say, you're right or that's true.
I thought you did disarm because I think you were acknowledging that you came across in a way that was really upsetting to Rhonda.
Okay.
Yeah. And as Rhonda said, without defensiveness, and if you'd wanted to make it more explicit, I don't see how you can get beyond an A triple plus. But maybe just to say I'm just so shocked and horrified to hear that. I had noticed some kind of tension between the two of us, and I didn't understand it. And I don't even know what I said that came across as sexual harassment, but I'm certain that you're right, and I must have said something that was really hurtful and had the wrong tone to it. I mean, that might have spelled it out better.
I liked that part. The I'm sure you're right. I wish I had included that. I think.
Well, then you'd go to A quadruple plus. You'd start walking on water at that point. Did you use I feel statements?
I think several. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm horrified. I'm ashamed. Did you use thought empathy? That means repeating Rhonda's words.
I think so. I think I got thought empathy in there.
I think
did you use feeling empathy? Acknowledge how Rhonda was likely feeling.
I definitely made an effort to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you use stroking, expressing warmth and liking and respect even in the heat of battle?
I also tried to do that. I possibly could have done a better job of that. Just saying that I really like you and care about you, and I feel so sad for doing anything that would disturb you and upset you.
Yeah, that would have boosted it. But you said that you were proud of her, and that was definitely stroking.
Proud of her.
Proud that she's sticking up for herself and telling you what you're doing wrong. Did you use inquiry at the end?
I believe I did. I wanted to know what that was like for her.
Right. And the reason I want to go through the technical analysis is that these are things that can be learned. But to learn them, 3 things are required. First, you have to hear something like Matt's response and say, that's for me. I want to learn to do that. And at a certain point in my career, I decided I wanted to learn how to do this. I wanted to be a better listener. And before that, maybe I wouldn't have cared that much. And most people don't care. Most people are involved in political battles, probably including myself, don't care to hear the other person's point of view. We just want to do our battle. We want to fight. So first of all, you've got to want this for yourself. Secondly, there were three things. I don't think I can remember the third, but the second thing is you got to work your ass off learning these with constant feedback, practice with others. That's why Anna's group could be helpful if there's some of you who would like to change your life, change your relationships. And then practice, one attack from the other person, and then you respond, and then you get your letter grade, and then you critique it. And that's the only way to learn. And you have to be willing to fail over and over until you get this. And that's why you make a good role model, Rhonda, because you do brilliant work, but you don't always get an A. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes I make mistakes. And you have to be willing to fail without shame, and just fail joyously until you begin to get the gist of it.
So you have to decide you want to be a better listener. You have to want it. You have to work to learn it. And you have to practice with humility and willingness to fail and learn.
Yeah. And you have to be patient with yourself, because most people, like even learning to use I feel statements, will try that in a role play maybe 10 times in a row and be unable to do it, even though it seems simple. An I feel statement is I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling ashamed, it's just naming your feelings. But most human beings will not and cannot do that as easy as it seems. And so you have to have specific practice exercises, doing it over and over again until finally on the 11th or 12th try you'll get it. Well, shall we push on to another question? Any wrap-ups on this?
Well, just to remind people that if they want to listen to that podcast about listening to the music in 5 Secrets, that's episode 161.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Great.
I have some additional thoughts that may or may not be worth adding, or you can just edit this out if it's not doesn't go with the flow here, but
yes, we will do that if it's not up to speed. This is Rutherford.
It's so good to have you back with us, Rutherford.
Yes, if there's anything you don't understand, I can give you some deep insights.
Excellent. Well, I think one thing that I'm wondering about and interested in understanding at a deeper level is this idea of being at peace with failure and leaving our ego at the door when we're practicing pretty much anything. But this skill, for sure, it's an ego bruiser. If you're expecting to do well with practicing the 5 secrets at first, it's probably going to be greatly disappointing and upsetting, and you might feel kind of defective and inadequate if you're expecting to succeed. But you're saying we should expect to fail and learn from those failures, and that's something anyone can do if they're comfortable with that. I have a question about that from a clinical point of view when working with folks who are struggling both with self-esteem and depression, as well as their interpersonal world, their social life, let's say. And I wondered if, David, you would agree that it's often best to work on the self-esteem component first, to let go of the need to be special or better than we are, but to embrace average, or to like ourselves, flaws and all, first, before we go into a lot of practice and trying to improve our skills.
There's 4 forms of enlightenment that I've stumbled across, and one is internal and one is external. Enlightenment, internal, is being satisfied with yourself is just a below average SH, just we're not so great, and give up giving up the need to be special. That's the death of the of the self that wants to be something, to be worthwhile. And then the interpersonal enlightenment is seeing that we're actually causing the problems that we're having in relationships, although that's politically unpopular point of view, as you've pointed out, Rhonda, but that we cause people to treat us in the very way we're complaining about. And these two forms of enlightenment kind of need each other for the reason you said, Matt, because if you can't tolerate failure or criticism, if it's too threatening to you, then all the practice in the world, you're not going to be able to do this. And I'm reminded, and it's a story I've probably told, but a woman came in for marital problems. She said she had loneliness in marriage, and that her husband couldn't express his feelings, and they were just like roommates, not like husband and wife. And so he agreed to come in and for them to have some couples therapy sessions. And I was just doing simple, one of them talk and then the other paraphrase, and then this one talk and the other one paraphrase, so they could get used to talking and listening. But I noticed that every time he would try to express his feelings, like he might say, I was angry about X, Y, or Z, she would start sobbing and saying things like, I know I'm a failure as a wife. I think I'll commit suicide. Mm. And so she was acting like a helpless victim, but she was actually powerfully manipulating him and controlling him with statements like that, punishing him for doing the very thing she said he couldn't do. Every time he tried to express his feelings, she would make that kind of dangerous, threatening comment. And so I had to terminate the couples therapy and treat her individually, exactly as you just said, with cognitive therapy to get her mood back up to where she could tolerate criticism and didn't, fall apart, every time somebody expressed an emotion or something critical of her. And then they were able to work together in a very gracious way and develop a more loving relationship.
Yeah, that's a great clinical example of that concern, to identify some order of operations here in terms of if we want to have a great social life, maybe the first step is to have a good relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we can build on that foundation.
Yeah, I see it all the time in myself. Like somebody will sometimes say something critical of my work or, some idea that I've developed. And if I'm in a vulnerable, raw mood, I might get kind of pissed off and defensive and try to, prove that they're wrong. And surprisingly, that doesn't have a great success rate. It just leads to tension. But if I relax and say, wow, I could be off in my thinking, tell me more about where you're coming from. It sounds important what you're saying and exciting. And then the other person opens up and all of a sudden we're on the same page and life is very peaceful and kind of joyous. And because neither of us has a self, we're just following ideas along. We're not trying to defend territory. Again, it's not me versus you. And this is the simplest stuff in the world that we're talking about today, and it's been around for thousands of years, really. This is really one of the forms of wisdom that we're talking about, but it's very hard for humans to get it. And I would say all of the religions have failed 100% in communicating this to people, although this is the only thing that all of the religions have been about. Mm. But people don't get it. They'll go to church, they'll go to synagogue, they'll go to the mosque, the whatever. But it's difficult for people to grasp, self-esteem on the one hand and loving relationships with others on the other hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you're saying, David. I'd be curious Rhonda, your perspective on that. Is that something you've seen in your clinical practice too, that it'd be hard to create a useful practice for people to improve their social skills until they're on a good track with themselves and accepting themselves as flawed and vulnerable human beings?
Well, I just think in general, people can't be in relation. I think that's true. What you're both saying is so wise. People have a hard time being in relationship with somebody if they're feeling insecure or disliking themselves, because what do they bring? Who are they bringing to the relationship? They're not.
What you're saying is very vague, Rhonda. Let me have you come to the point. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just like mashed potatoes or something.
Yeah, okay.
You've had a forensic practice.
Yeah, I know.
And you've seen an awful lot of people who are not responding with warmth and 5 secrets, and who are responding with violence and aggression. And
in a way, I feel like my work in the field of assessing people who have done who are, criminals or people who are struggling in family court has stunted my growth as a therapist, because it's 100% of the people I work with until I started doing team therapy. And then even after, all they want to do is blame, and they don't want to take responsibility. And what they do is they distract from dealing with their own issues by attacking and being really mean. To the other person, and this concept that we cause people to treat us the way we complain about. I mean, I am completely flawed in how to bring that to light in my clients, maybe because I have such a hard time with that concept, and so people want to blame other people. I mean, even there was just a situation, I brought that up about the sexual harassment because a colleague of mine emailed me and said another colleague of ours, sent her a sexually harassing email, without getting into the details about it. And I said, hey, just send a 5 secrets response. And she did a really beautiful job. But the person had the opposite response that you did, Matt, and was really hostile and went on the counterattack. And then I kind of tried to intervene by saying, hey, this is a great opportunity to learn from this experience. Why don't you do a 5 secrets response too? And then I got attacked. And I thought, okay, I have to step out of this.
People will often be aggressive towards someone who's promoting a loving human relationship.
Yeah. I wish the world would respond the way you just did, Matt. That people would say, oh, I'm proud of you for bringing that up. And I'm horrified that I could have done anything that left with that impression. And even when you were talking about the original, what Anna brought up, when you said, I have tendencies where I could do things that are, sociopathic. I fight them, so I don't do them. And I didn't do this, and I didn't do what you're accusing me of, but I could see that I have the potential to do that, and I'm embarrassed, and let's talk about it. I mean, that level of honesty and vulnerability, I think if everyone did it, including me, I'm not good at doing that. It could really change the world to be a better place. I don't know. I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about that.
Let's hope for that, right? I do have hope and optimism. I noticed that when people start to get hungry for blame and start taking it, that other people often will follow suit, and it can be a kind of like forgiveness and love and disarming can be infectious. And if I say, oh no, I did the wrong thing, that they'll often say, no, it was me. I'm to blame. And now we're both eager for the blame, and that seems nice because we can share it then, and we're all to blame, and that's okay. So I'm hopeful for that.
And then also the negative, to the opposite of that, the negative experiences, the negative reactions escalate too. So if the response is not as beautiful as what you did, if the response is hostile or attacking, then I feel like I feel like hostile, attacking, and judging.
Yeah, it's very
So it just keeps going. Yeah.
It's like the COVID on steroids.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we do one last lightning round of criticisms and responses and grades and critiques?
Okay. Will you give me one?
Huh?
Since Matt's been here, I've been kind of dependent on Matt because he's so he's so great at the 5 secrets and been hiding and not practicing. So would you give me a criticism?
Matt can criticize Rhonda, then Rhonda can criticize David, then David can criticize Matt. That'll be our round robin finale on this thing.
Yeah.
So we'll all try to give each other quasi-impossible criticisms, and then we'll try to respond with the 5 secrets.
Rhonda, do you want mild, medium, or spicy?
Spicy.
Okay. Well, and then what kind of topic? Do you just a criticism or?
Yeah, I'm leaving that up to you, Matt. You have to come up with some real conflicty things.
Well, David mentioned this earlier, that sometimes the hardest, the absolute most difficult ones are the clients who are saying we're sexually attracted to them or something like that. So maybe I'll throw a very challenging something your way. So I'm your client, and I can, Rhonda, I can tell that you're secretly attracted to me, and it's just been making me really uncomfortable during our therapy sessions.
Oh, Matt, give me 30 seconds. I have to think about that for 30 seconds.
I needed about 3 years.
Well, again, I am going to start off with my I feel statement and say I'm really embarrassed to hear you say that, and I feel a little humiliated and kind of stunned. A therapeutic relationship is really special, and there is some power dynamic between the therapist and the patient, and clearly I have done something that has led you to not trust me, and there's a sexual theme involved, which is even more embarrassing and difficult to talk about for me. I'm imagining that you're feeling kind of confused and irritated and maybe even taken advantage of, because you're telling me that you've been getting the vibe from me that I'm secretly attracted to you. And, I'm wondering what it's been like to be in therapy with somebody that where that power dynamic is so off, or where you're not feeling safe. Because I'm also imagining you can't feel safe with me if you're worried that I'm sexually attracted to you. I just want you to know that I respect our relationship so much, and I've been, honored to work with you. I would never be, I don't know if I'm going in the right direction with this, but I would never take advantage of a relationship that I have with my patient and with you. And so I'm glad that you brought this up so that we can talk about it. I'm wondering if, you could tell me what it's been like to be in therapy with me and to have that thought and that worry and that concern that I'm sexually attracted to you. Can you tell me more about what that's been like? I'd really like to know.
Great. Now, what grade did you give yourself?
Well, I felt like I kind of babbled, so I would give myself a B.
A B. Okay. What grade did you give it, Matt?
I'm going A++ at least.
No way.
Yeah. I thought it was fantastic.
Why?
I liked your babbling. Your babbling kind of communicated a feeling that this was awkward or uncomfortable for you to talk about, and that kind of showed me that you cared. And so I, any type of I feel statement are things that I typically like in these types of responses, but you used multiple other I feel statements. Like you said, you were feeling embarrassed and kind of stunned, and I think you said horrified. I thought you got good disarming in there. I must have done something to make you feel this way, and good feeling empathy with confused, and good thought empathy, and with use my words like a secret attraction. I liked your inquiry, and I liked your stroking too. I also liked this part where you said, I would never, take advantage of you or another patient. I think there was one part where it sounded like a little bit technical, like you were talking about therapeutic relationships and this power dynamic. And I think that is true. And I don't know exactly how to polish that. Maybe it's something like I feel especially awkward because here there's this power dynamic. You're coming to me for help. And so that would be doubly wrong for me to be expecting anything of you other than your participation in the therapy and payment for the fee. And but I would say that was phenomenal. I'll turn it over to David. Maybe he has some additional feedback.
Well, before we go on to David, how does that feel to get that feedback?
That felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was when I was saying that about the power dynamic, I was thinking, I'm going off the track. How do I?
Yeah. Then when you repeat something like that, you're really kind of temporarily off the rails.
Yeah. So I liked how Matt reframed it. Yeah, I feel especially awkward because you're coming to me for help, and me expecting anything else from you would be doubly wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of great stuff here, and let's get it out on the table and talk about it. The I feel statements were really great. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the disarming technique, which is the focus of today's podcast. And you want to find some truth in what the person is saying, and you might say something. Maybe I'll end up in a deep hole here too. But Matt, you're telling me that you're concerned that I'm secretly attracted to you, and that this is making you really, really uncomfortable. And I would have to say that you're an exceptionally handsome man, and I think that any woman could not help but notice that, including myself. But I want you to know that my goal is not here to have a romantic or sexual relationship with you, but to help you find the love you're looking for in your own life. And I know you've told me that every time you've tried to get close to a woman, that it's kind of fallen apart. And maybe this would be a great chance to talk about what's going on here. I can imagine you're feeling hurt and angry and kind of pissed off at me, and I'm feeling kind of ashamed and horrified and shocked and stunned. I'd sensed a little tension between us that I couldn't understand, and now I understand what's going on. Tell me what this is like for you. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to slay this dragon and help you do what you need to do to learn about what intimacy is, what a loving relationship is, so you can find and develop a relationship with a woman you really love. And with that in mind, tell me more. Are you feeling awkward now? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling embarrassed? I'm so proud of you for raising this, and tell me how you're feeling right now. This is incredibly important.
Hey.
Well, what do you think, Matt?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really excellent. There were a couple new items in there. The identifying this awkward moment as an opportunity, I really like that, and offering an invitation to look at this under the microscope more and see how maybe even this is like what's happening here is like an example of how some of my relationships may not have been going well in the outside world. and inviting me to do some work on improving my relationships. I thought that was very nicely done, and added a new dimension. What did you think, Rhonda?
I loved all of that, because you were talking about what was happening in the moment between us. I think I was trying to do that, but I was worried that I would somehow the client or the patient would end up feeling blamed. But I loved how I didn't feel blamed when you were doing it, David. It felt like an invitation to have a more deep conversation.
Yeah, it again has to do with what you were talking about, Matt, that failure doesn't exist. I've often said your worst therapeutic failure is your greatest opportunity in disguise, and the problem isn't if you've screwed up or if there's tension, but the shame you feel about it. That's the problem. And
right.
If you just relax, and it's a gift, this thing that happened, because this person has probably had tremendous problems with sexual and loving relationships, and this is a chance to really talk about it. And this could be the patient's first breakthrough with a woman or with a man or whatever, to get close to someone, to talk about feelings that most people don't talk about but repress and hide. But again, you've got to have the relaxation within yourself to be able to do this, like what you were saying, Rhonda. Mm-hmm. And so it's both winning the battle with the inner demons and then winning the battle with the outer demons.
Yeah, there is something interesting that is happening in this role play where in both cases I really liked hearing from Rhonda and from David that what sounded maybe like some reassurance, like my goal isn't romantic or sexual, was a comment you made, David. Yeah. And Rhonda, you said I would never take advantage of you in that way. That seemed like a necessary component, and also what I guess maybe is like an I feel statement, or how do you think about that? Because how would you map that onto the 5 secrets?
Well, it's the same as what we were talking about earlier, that you agree with the music behind the words, and the words might not have it exactly correct. You might say, I would never, use our relationship for a sexual purpose or for a romantic purpose at all. My purpose is to help you change your life. But yet, you're right. There's been some weird tension between us, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And now I see that I've been coming across in a way that's doing blah, blah, blah. And as embarrassing and painful as it is to hear that, I'm kind of excited too, because this is our chance to really talk about something that's been sensitive and forbidden. And you said that this always goes on between you and people of the opposite sex, or if it's two gay people of the same sex. But this has always been a barrier, and now we can talk about it and slay that demon. But man, I'm freaking out right now, and I bet you are too, and I'm just proud of you and proud of me, and that we can really talk about this. Tell me more. Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling embarrassed? Are you feeling pissed off? Are you feeling anxious? What's this like for you right now?
Yeah, I really like that, David. It occurs to me that it's more than an I feel statement. It's also, there's stroking in it, because you're saying that I'm not relating to you as an object, as a sexual object. I'm relating to you as a human being, who I care about and I'd like to help.
Yeah.
And you're providing a sense of respect for me and encouragement that this is something we can do together, even if it feels uncomfortable.
But again, you're validating them.
Yeah.
It's a complete validation.
Yeah. But again, these are paradoxes, and these are all decisions that you have to make. And maybe I'll attach that document that I have, 12 good reasons not to listen, 12 good reasons not to share your feelings, and 12 good reasons not to treat the other person with respect. Because there's all this resistance that human beings have to each of the components of the 5 secrets, EAR, empathy, assertiveness, and respect. People don't want to empathize. They don't want to share feelings. They don't want to convey respect. And so it's a matter of intense resistance, and then a lot of training and heart that has to go into it if you want to if you want to learn how to use these tools. They're definitely not easy. I would say anyone can learn them if you want it for yourself, if you're tired of all the conflict in your life and you want to develop more loving relationships. But a lot of work is required. But the payoff is not just interpersonal, developing more loving relationships. It's also spiritual. And I'm not religious, I'm anti-religious, but there is a profound spiritual dimension to this.
In terms of definitely, I've felt that too, in terms of like feeling connected to a larger community, not just isolated within myself, concerned about my worth or specialness, or seeing the other as some enemy I have to do battle with or protect myself from, but really feeling a part of something a lot bigger. Meaningful way.
Yeah, and a lot of the gurus throughout history have used paradoxes too, to like this stupid biblical thing, turn the other cheek. And people say, yeah, I did that, and then I got slugged on the other side of my face. But they don't grasp what that means. They're people trying to give images for something that's really profound, and without that spiritual dimension, I don't think you can grasp what we're trying to do here today.
Mm-hmm. I mean, going back to what we were talking about before, if we're escalating each other, we're really alone in our own fight. But when we're doing the 5 secrets and we're acknowledging our responsibility, and there's that, what you described before, Matt, that shared blame, like, and that depth of feeling that comes from this, then that develops community between the two people. Yeah,
and peace and love and joy. The moment you die, not only do you go to heaven, but the other person dies and goes to heaven with you. But until you've learned these things and practice them and experience them, you can't know what those words mean. What I just said, it just sounds like some psychobabble. But it's really...
But a lot of people think that feeling, not to get like too godlike, but that feeling that's generated when you have that deep connection to somebody, that's a spirit. That's spirit. That's like godlike and spirituality. That development, that feeling.
Yeah, that's right. Spiritual is what happens here on the surface of the earth, not some mystical thing with ghostly figures, and we pray to them, and they like it kills me when. There's some sporting event on TV, and then the team that wins, and they're all, putting crosses on their chest. No, thank you, Jesus. Like Jesus chose our team to win the championship. It's so stupid. Excuse me.
Okay. Well, maybe we could stop now because we've been going for an hour, so this might be a good time to stop.
Yeah, we didn't get to any of the other Ask David questions, but this was a fun one, and that's what happens when we have Matt. It turns into something really, really awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it would have been awesome without me, but I'm really glad to share some time with both of you. Thank you.
Yeah. It's so great to have you. Okay, well, until next time.
Okay, until next time, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.